Remember when Justin Timberlake got his heart broken by Britney? And I remember watching the video for Cry Me a River. In the video was a woman that looked like Britney.
Yep.
My initial reaction was like, what a pussy. And I was like, wait a minute, he's owning this. Like, you missed out.
Yeah.
And owning the fact that she hurt him, owning the fact that he wanted it. And then he ended up with Jessica Biel, like, and he just moved on. And I was like, wow, power and vulnerability and not hiding behind this tough guy persona. That's attractive.
Welcome back to the 10-Year Marriage. A couple weeks ago, we dropped our episode with our friend Mark Groves, and one of the reels that we posted ended up going viral. So today we're going to explore all of our comments and answer all your questions. For those of you who haven't seen it, we'll add it here so you can get context of where we're coming from.
My wife could literally walk out of my life in any moment. She could choose to say this relationship is not for her, and that would be her right to choose. And when a relationship brings forward that reality that that choice exists, then that means that they are currently making a choice to not do that. And that actually unlocks what I would say most relationships don't acknowledge.
And it makes the moment so much richer and real and connected.
It's truth.
Yes, which is freedom. And if you want to watch or listen to the episode, it's episode 4 of the 10-Year Marriage. And this particular post, reel, got 422,000 views. We're going to go over these comments today because I think it unlocks people's reactions to the concept of having a begin and end date on your marriage. And then in Mark's post, he's talking about how his wife can leave him at any time. Like, that's her right. And there was a lot of like positive and negative and just emotions. People were in the feels in the comments. So I was like, why don't we unpack this a little bit? Because I spent a lot of time responding to him because I wanted to hold space and just
well, and some of these angles were really interesting. They were really cool takes on what they believed that the conversation was about. And then there were some that were a ton of pushback, which it was interesting because it opened up the conversation deeper.
The comments, to me, it's like throwing like pitches at me or like softballs in the air, or like I love being able to answer on the fly because it just opens up all these topics that I never thought about. So why don't we go back and forth? You pick one, I'll pick one. You can talk about. All right. Radiantly Roshni wrote, "This is why I don't see the point in getting married. If you could just walk away whenever you want, why bother exchanging the vows unless it is to be able to live in the same country or for tax purposes?" Right? And I responded, what if you found someone that decided to choose you for you, who you are now, and continue to choose you as you grow and expand as a woman while you at the same time are choosing them? The beauty of wanting someone, not needing them, empowers both people and the relationship. Freedom, because you choose. And so what I see in her comment is this protection game. You see it like people who don't want to be affectionate or touched, or like it's almost like they're giving up their future truthing something into existence that hasn't, like, why even bother getting married? Like, people are looking for guarantees that just don't exist. And that's one of the beauties of being in a relationship in the first place. I think that's why people get kind of complacent too, right? Like, if there's a guarantee and this person doesn't owe you anything, you got to earn it every single day. You get the ring and you get the marriage and you could just mail it in for the rest of that's not the way it works.
Well, and a lot of people made that comment, like, well, then what's the point of getting married? What's the point of making that commitment if anybody can walk away? Well, we all have free will and choices in every decision that we make, but there's still commitment that has to take place. That's not just in relationships, but it's in business. It's in your kids' lives. It's in every aspect. If you want to commit to your health and being healthy, like, there's a commitment taking place. And this is just, we've come up with this different way of thinking of how to make the commitment to each other and show up for ourselves and each other over and over and over again.
Well, if you go into a relationship looking for that guarantee, it's a needy field. Plus, you haven't done the work that is required to do on yourself, right? And to take your metaphor of business as well, like when you own a business, you go through the life cycles of the business, and you have to re-fall in love with that business over and over and over again. It has to evolve. Has to change. It's different when it's a startup in its infancy versus when it's an established business. And not many people make it to 10 years in business. Same thing with marriage. There's the honeymoon stage, right? That's the infancy. And then there's the adolescent stage and the maturity. Like, you got to re-fall in love with each other at every different stage. So there's no guarantee how you're going to show up 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later.
Yep. And that's one of the, like, you talk about it a lot with your coaching and how you date your business, you date your wife, you date yourself by like taking care of yourself. But you have to constantly, like, when you show up as when you're dating versus when you're married, people show up very differently, right? And this gives people the opportunity to look at it as this new relationship. Like, we're becoming new versions of ourselves, so we want to show up differently over and over again.
And it can be really exciting if you play it right. Right? Not like this, there's no finish line to this game in any of them. Like, oh, we finally hunted down the version of ourselves that we've always wanted. And the marriage that we have is, we've hit it. That's it. We've arrived. No such thing.
Yeah.
New level, new devil. Always. And so what I love about the 10-year, it's actually more of a commitment to yourself. You're saying, woof, there is no guarantees. I better keep showing up for me. I better keep showing up in life, right? And so there's a higher level of accountability when you have a begin and a start. It's a constant reminder that you better show up. All right, beautiful. You got one?
Yeah. There's one by Janie Bay, 21. It says, what about someone who just decides to walk out of a 40-year marriage?
There was another one like this.
There was another one similar that was like...
a very pretty woman, too. 21 years. I was like, how's someone walking away from you? Do you want to take... I have an answer. Did either one of us answer that one?
No, this one was just a little bit ago. But there were a couple where it was like, what about if your partner just wants to walk away and there's only one person that wants to stay married?
It was Okawara. Was married for 13 years. My husband just walked away. He said he was not happy and not in love anymore. Go figure.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, not always, but a lot of the time, the one who walks away is the one who fell out of love of their own future and projected it onto their significant others. It takes two to commit to honest and real conversations about where you are, where you were, and where you want to go. That was a good answer, if I don't say so myself.
That is a very good answer. I think when I read that answer, I didn't look at the fell out of love with yourself, which I think is the case. Or, things aren't changing and maybe people aren't growing, and
you don't walk away after, it's not a one-day decision.
Right. And on the flip side of that, like, there are relationships that should end. There are relationships that don't need to go any longer because both people aren't showing up to their fullest and their highest best selves. And that's okay. That's part of this concept of the 10-year marriage, is talking about, like, what do we want the rest of our life to look like? And if it doesn't align, like, it's okay to part ways too. Like, we get one life. We get one shot at this. For the people that are in relationships and they feel stuck and they don't feel like they can say, I want a different life, or I want to walk away from this because of children, because of finances, because of whatever, that just makes me so sad. It's painful to think that these people are wasting so much of their precious time.
So I 100% agree. But if someone's surprised, either party's surprised, then they're both on the hook. And that was my point.
Yeah.
No one should be surprised in a relationship that it's ending.
Right.
That means you haven't had the conversation and you've been hiding for way too long.
Or you're not fully present.
Well, that's why I said, if you're not having conversations of who you are, and where you, like, the past, present, and future, and someone is just like, it's a surprise, it means that the real conversations that need to be had are not being had. You shouldn't just be like, I'm going to get the courage to leave. Why don't you have the courage to have a conversation, and give it its best shot.
Right. And if things are already on their way out and that's like what the end already looks like, why not break some shit?
Exactly.
Why not, let's tear it down. Let's start over. Let's see if there's a way that this works. Let's see if there's a way we could get excited about each other again, or, change your environment, or change the way you speak to each other, or whatever that may be.
Well,
but
what happens
break some stuff.
Because God forbid any of us are unique. Life takes over, kids, work, whatever. Now you're not going on date nights. Now you're not having sex. Now there's resentment. Now one guy's looking at porn. Now the woman is getting, purpose through the kids. And all of a sudden it just leaks and leaks and leaks. And now the guy's like, I don't want to cheat, but I'm starting to have fantasies about the woman at work. And the woman is starting to get hardened. Like, I'm just playing stereotypical things out here. And then one day, they have their, stories locked in. My wife is an ice queen. My wife is not sexual. My wife doesn't see me and feel me. The wife is like, what do I got to do for this guy? I have nothing going on in my life. And no one was willing to break through. And the first thing they actually do is either leave or cheat. It's pussy way out.
And it just on the flip side, another scenario is a lot of the times, like the woman, as from the woman's perspective, it's like, my husband doesn't see me.
Yeah.
He doesn't hear me. Maybe he doesn't desire me, or he's not showing up. He's not showing up as a man that I want him to be around, and that I think is a very common way two people see themselves out of a relationship. And when we have our issues, when sex isn't going the way you planned, because typically that's like your thing, or life's not moving in the direction I want to do, we tend to snap each other out of it by kind of being like, all right, like, what do we got to do? Yeah, there's something there and it's never an easy conversation.
No, we both get mad defensive.
100%.
Yeah, and but we're willing to have it.
We're willing to do it, exactly. Instead of sedating and instead of just letting it pass and making it worse. Okay, other couple people mentioned this quote. So the quote is, "You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free." And I resonate with that so much because early in our relationship, there was a lot of jealousy that was taking place on both ends, but more so like you were a lot jealous of like other guys or people calling my phone or whatever. And I felt like it was like a leash. And I was like, dude, like, I'm not doing anything. So
you know how that came up? Mm-hmm. Two things. One, I had never been all in on a relationship to the point where I didn't have like an escape route.
Yep.
But two, because you were being so jealous about me traveling so much, I started then going, well, shit, if she thinks I'm doing something, what's she doing? Like, it went back and
it's
forth.
spiraling. Yeah.
Right? Because you had all this weirdness around the women that were in the real estate world.
Yep.
Guess what? You should, because the amount of cheating and things that go on in these conferences and everything is wild. Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted you there. One of the reasons to A, see it, and B, I've been put in some really bad spots. And I was like, no.
Yep.
But yeah, then I went absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Because I was like, who the fuck is reaching out to you? I mean, you're a gorgeous woman,
Thank
right?
you.
And it's good and bad because a lot of men just don't even have the balls to hit on you, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're scared of me. Maybe my old Dave they were scared of. I don't know now. I'm more like an old bull.
Yeah.
I'm like a puppy dog.
Still terrifying to most people.
So yeah, that triggered a lot of shit in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a whole episode on itself. But the whole, like, this quote specifically, it's like both of us, like, when you feel free to do your coaching, to travel, to hang out with your guys, to really like spread your wings, same thing with me. I feel like I'm connected more to you. Like when you're so, like the horse, for example, the fact that you've been so supportive and so willing to just let me like do my thing. I feel every time I'm with him, I'm like, I feel free, and I feel like it makes me more connected to you because I'm like, thank you for allowing me that space. Even the words though,
you're like, let me, like.
No, I know, but it's not even let me, but it's the support.
Support.
It's the support.
Or empower.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think also the quality where we are in our life. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm going and spending time with my warrior brothers who are all about growth and expansion. And, these aren't like golfing trips and titty bars.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have girlfriends who are single and looking on the prowl and, the wild nights.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
You're married women with children and businesses. And, it's a different quality of a relationship like this. I mean, the chances of there being like lines of cocaine and hooker, like that mm-hmm. just isn't, first of all, I don't hang out with people like that. But second of all, that's like a different age bracket.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not a different age bracket.
Maybe we're just not in those worlds.
Yeah.
But also in the past, if I'm 30, in my early 30s, and you're in your mid 20s, we still have people. Mm-hmm. Like for us, it's a relaxation trip or a connection trip. And for them, it's maybe I find a guy while I'm on this trip, or maybe I find a girl, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like when you're with your sisters and in that group, like I'm like, go wherever you want and have a blast.
Yeah, which leads me to the point of like, do you want to be in a relationship at all with somebody that you potentially, that is on the prowl looking? Because I joke with my friends every time I go out with my girlfriends, even if it's like girls' night and we're going to Stoney's and line dancing, we look around and we're like so grateful that we are in a relationship, because it would just be like dating would suck right now,
Gotcha.
right? With the internet and with all of that. But no, my whole point was like, if you had a husband that was going on golf trips all the time and kind of just never taking you on trips, or going to the strip clubs, like I wouldn't want to be with that person.
Yeah.
You know, like
if I was going to go to a strip club,
person.
I'd want you coming with me.
Yeah. And they probably wouldn't let me because they don't like women in a lot of strip clubs.
But you get what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay. What was the original question in the first place? Oh,
the
freedom.
original, it was freedom. It was that quote.
Yes. So you cannot be free in a scarcity spot, right? If you're trying to get that from the other person, you got to bring freedom in. Yep. That's the thing. It's the self-work first, right?
Yep. Okay, this is another good one. This is why I find it problematic when people adopt the mindset that marriage means being committed until death do us part, no matter what. That kind of thinking can lead to taking a partner for granted, assuming their commitment is guaranteed for life. In reality, you have to show up every day and give them reasons to choose you again and again. So that's kind of, I mean, you commented and was like, you know, that's kind of why we created this whole concept on the 10-year marriage. Like, there is no death to us part, but you're going to have to recommit all the time.
Well, I just approved a video with Mark in it, and he was like, well, which death?
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. Maybe there is a death, and we will part till death do we part. Well, maybe it's the death of who we were.
That version of us.
Exactly. And then you have to re-choose the new version, hence the 10-year marriage.
Yep. This one's really great. Grow a pair.
Yeah. So our creative guy was commenting for us, like ready to, like, he was defending Mark.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. This guy was obviously half a troll, but I don't see a troll. I don't either. I see a hurt man.
I do too. I see a bitter man.
And I just see a hurt man.
Yeah.
And I see a man who's like so needing to have stories and excuses around relationships because he's in protection mode. Mm-hmm. And the word simp, you know, girls call these,
never heard that.
So the kids call men simps who are like, they kiss the women's ass. Like they're like, super like vulnerable. They also say alphas and sigmas and all this shit. These are the kids talking. You don't listen to our kids.
They don't say simp or
I bet you $1,000 they come home today.
I know that they would say, I know that they would know what it means, but they don't
call
talk
people
like
simp 100%.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But okay.
And it's this, how do I show up as a man? And that's why, like, my men's group, Lovers and Fighters, like, you need to be both nowadays. You need to be a man who can hold the dark and the light. Yep. And understand the power that comes from both. Being able to be like a warrior for your family. Yeah. But also the patriarch and the protector. These things need to exist in unison. And this poor guy was looking at it like Mark is just saying my wife can leave me at any time, as him being weak. Yep. When that's the strongest thing you could actually say. Like holding space inside of that moment and be like, I want my woman to be strong. I wouldn't want it any other way. I want a woman who has options. I want a woman that keeps me on my toes because I'm a man that can handle that, and not many men can. Yeah. And
your comment was interesting. It said, tell me a more secure and healthy thing a man can do to set his wife free by empowering her to rise, while also meeting her there and leading her to rise even higher. And his response was...
That was actually pretty...
It was great. Yeah. And it was just basically what you said. And his comment was, let her go, yeah. But also show her you aren't afraid to walk away as well. Then it becomes a standoff. Whoever flinches first loses. So clearly, there's some backstory there that we don't know. His personal story, right? And I agree. Like,
he got his heart crushed.
Sounds like, exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
He got his heart crushed. And he's like, that's it. And
now we put up these walls like, I'm going to show a woman I can walk away too. And if he takes that into other relationships and he doesn't fully commit, he's going to continue to have that pattern.
Over and over and over again. Yep. He's going to attract it.
Yep.
And the woman that he should be attracting is not going to show up because one woman broke his heart, rather than holding space and going, thank you, because you weren't the one. I gave you my heart, and this is what you did. Rather than be like a victim, be like, wow, you missed the opportunity of your lifetime because someone's going to get mine. You know what's crazy? You know when I actually started changing? This is the wildest thing. I've never really talked about this before. Remember when Justin Timberlake got his heart broken by Britney?
I do, because they were my idols, but go ahead.
Okay. And I remember watching the video for Cry Me a River. And in the video was a woman that looked like Britney,
Yep.
but wasn't. And here I was like, my initial reaction was like, what a pussy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait a minute, he's owning this. Like in the song, he's like saying like you missed out.
Yeah.
And owning the fact that she hurt him, owning the fact that he wanted it, owning the fact that like it didn't work out the way it turned out, but yet, and then he ended up with Jessica Biel, like, and he just moved on. And I was like, wow, power and vulnerability and not hiding behind this tough guy persona.
Totally.
Well, that's attractive.
Yeah. It reminds me of my personal story in high school, the love of my life, right? Like he was my first love, lost my virginity to him, everything. And he cheated on me with a friend, like a cheerleading friend, and all my friends knew about it. I didn't know about it. I found out about it, and it crushed me, like literally crushed me. It was one of the reasons I was like, I'm out. Like, I can't live here anymore. I'm moving to Vegas.
Betrayal by him, betrayal by your friends, after going through some personal betrayal with your family.
Yep.
Yep.
And so all of that had happened, and I remember being out in Vegas and being really alone and going back for my graduation, because I graduated early and I had to go back and walk in my graduation because I was just turning 18 when I moved out. And I remember going up to her, who the person it was that did that, and I thanked her. And she was like completely thrown off guard. And I was like, if you wouldn't have done this, if this wouldn't have happened, I might still be here. And I would be living a completely different life. And this put me out of my comfort zone. It changed the course of my life. And it was one of the best things that ever happened, because I wouldn't have met you and had my babies and been in Vegas.
That's that, right? Amor fati.
Yes.
That love fate, like even when it's worse, so everything is happening absolutely for you, there for a reason.
Yep.
Like smiling through the shitstorm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
making your worst day your best day.
You're not going to get through this world without rejection and losing. I was talking to one of my buddies today. We met this morning and talking about a couple of, I call them L's and W's, wins and losses. A couple of L's I've taken. And he was talking to me a couple of L's. He took a quarter of his business, and we were like, nobody bats 1,000 in this game. Mm-hmm. Not in life, not in business, definitely not in relationships.
But what if we do?
Ooh, I like that.
What if they're all wins?
On the surface, they look like L's, but maybe the L's turn into W's.
Yeah.
100%. If you're lucky, every single relationship you have is going to be a failure until you find the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And then maybe like in your frame, they all had to occur, so you learn something about yourself along the way to be prepared.
Well, and I can look back at every relationship and I can truly see, like, I had relationships where I was so insecure about who I was, about how I ate, about what I looked like, everything. And I grew so much because I had to go through that journey in that relationship that I was like, wow. Like, and I came out of the relationship going, fuck that. Like, I'm going to be me. And if somebody doesn't like that and doesn't want that, then they're not for me, you know? And it's the truth. Like, I think I tell the girls that all the time, because Ella's really into boys, and, you know, she talks a lot about boys and things, and she's had a couple like little relationships. And I tell her all the time, like, these might not be people that you marry. They're probably not. Odds are they're not. Yep. But you're going to learn so much, not just about how to have a relationship and how to communicate and how to do that, but you're going to learn so much about yourself and what your standards are and what you're willing to put up with. And that is invaluable. And it's across the board, right? It starts with for you, your dad, me, my mom, like your first relationships, or actually your mom and your dad, right? Like how they treat each other, how they treat the other people. It's sexual too, right? Like, you're seeing what it's like to be with somebody. Like, and that's a whole conversation. We still haven't even done the sex episodes, but about like
how many partners you should have before you get into the relationship, so you don't wake up at 40 and being like, this could be the best sex I've ever had in my life, but I have
it's the
nothing.
only dick I've ever seen.
I'm so glad you said it. It's so wonderful that such a sweet looking thing could say something like that. But yes.
Yeah.
Like, and so there's parts of this where it's batting practice, it's life.
Yeah.
Right. It's experience. And, if you think that you're going to get this right on the first shot, and some people do.
Some people do. And some people are still very happy. And that it's a beautiful thing. Like there's so many relationships that we've seen in the years that it is that case. And it's like, wow, they're still happy together. They're best friends. They love each other, and you can still see that. And that's truly beautiful.
Here's a good comment. Dope Soul. Good name. Sorry, if you haven't been through a divorce, you cannot speak about it.
Yep. I
didn't respond to that one.
That was because it was just recent.
So I have some takes on this one. Mm-hmm. I have been through a divorce. My parents, and I'm not saying I was the one, but holy shit, I was raised by two parents who it definitely affected them. And I'm the child of a divorce.
Yeah.
And and I've also had a relationship that was on and off for 5 or 6 years. And I'm not saying that was like a marriage, but that was a relationship. The woman I moved out here for, that was a heavy relationship.
Yep.
And so I think you can speak about it.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, same thing. Like, I was 13 when my parents got divorced. I saw that in one of the, pivotal ages of my life.
Yeah, like if Ella, it'd be like right now with Ella.
Yes. Yeah. And I saw all of it. Like, I could see things that my parents maybe didn't even see because they were in it. And so I witnessed a lot of that. And I witnessed the hurt and the pain, and all of that was part of my life too. And like you said, like, just because, you're not married to somebody and get a legal divorce, we've been in plenty of relationships where every time it ended, it's not always pretty. Like,
I still think it's heavier though if you have kids and you got
100%.
Yeah.
But it's
not like we haven't seen it. It's true.
Yeah, but we've had to have that conversation before where, it wasn't so serious as we were separated, but it was something where it was like, wow, like this could change the dynamics of everything. Like, how would we co-parent?
So
how could this look?
There's a couple of things I want to talk about. It's just, since we're in it, we're approaching our 15th year in marriage, and we're going to write up our contract, and it's pretty much written up. Mm-hmm. But what is something on that contract where if it didn't happen, you'd have to seriously consider, like, if our futures were no longer aligned?
I really think it would be more about the energy and showing up. I think if you completely turned off and was just like, don't need to grow. I'm completely content in my life. I don't want to change. I don't want to ever move. I don't want to ever see anything or travel. Like, that to me, I would feel like my life was being wasted.
Yeah.
And that's a personal thing, right? Like, I want to see as much of the world as possible. I want to try living in different places. I want to try different things with our kids. Like, that's just something that I value, and I think that we push and pull each other in those directions sometimes because it is easy to get stagnant. It's easy to come home every day and be like, we're comfortable, we're happy. But I think that that's one of the biggest things for me. And even cheating, like, that's a whole conversation in itself because there's so much context to that. Like, if I was not showing up or I wasn't present and I don't know. I think there is a case or a situation where if you cheated on me, I'd have to take a really hard look at what I was doing in the relationship to have that occur and see if I could heal from that or see if that was something, because I do believe that not in all cases, but there are cases where with cheating and infidelity, it's because these people aren't connecting. It's so much deeper than surface level sex a lot of times.
Of course.
It's somebody's not feeling desired, somebody's not feeling wanted, or they're feeling rejected or something like that. And if that was the case, I'd want to be like, let's get to the bottom of this. You know what I mean? Because I would never want you to feel that way or me feel that way,
You know what I've heard a lot, being around a lot of guys? Emotional affairs. This was never like a thing.
See, that to me would be probably worse than a physical affair.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it would be heartbroken if you were getting, like, some other man, like, talking about your dreams and your problems and being, like, emotionally filled.
Imagine another man saying, I love you. And really meaning that. You know what I mean? Or a woman being like, I'm so in love with you, and you saying it back. That would hurt more than a girl blowing you or you having sex with somebody. You know what I mean? Because that's like your heart.
Noted.
That's like,
noted.
I own that. You know what I mean?
Just don't say I love you. Just don't say I love you. It's okay. Just don't say I love you.
It.
I'm good.
You're ridiculous. But you get my point, right?
I think it's easier to talk about than actual, literally.
100%.
Yeah, you know.
It's much easier to talk about.
I totally get. Yeah, there's some levity there. Okay. The other thing that was in the Mark Groves podcast, which I like this. We did this yesterday too, talking about other podcasts and elaborating. The whole theory of like burying something as a token of the relationship having an ending.
Oh, I love that.
Right. It was deep, and almost like we talked about this as well. Like my coach used to be like, get divorced. And there's so many things that come up in this podcast, was talking about marriage, that are reminders and metaphors for what we should be doing for ourselves in life and for all domains of life.
Yeah.
Right. Even spiritually.
Yeah.
Right. Like moving into a revealing, unveiling, becoming, whatever you want to call it. Like,
yep.
Like
I just had the best idea, but go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, go for it.
Well, okay. So you know how your coaching goes over the 4 areas of your life, right?
Yep.
I think we need to have a ceremony of each area, because you just went through the stabilize, optimize, grow, transform.
Yep.
Which I love. Like stabilize everything, optimize it, then grow, then you transform. It's like this.
So that's
widening.
That's why I named it one of my businesses, The Infinite Path, because to me it's the growth curve.
Exactly.
So you can put the growth curve through this entire thing, and what happens after you transform,
you have to do stabilize,
again,
optimize, grow, and transform. But I would love to do like an actual ceremony of each one of us, individual, each 4 areas of your life, and burn shit to the ground. Like burn those old identities, burn, like physically on paper, burn that shit down and be like, that is no longer us. It no longer serves us.
This could be little things too, right? Little or big. Like you had such a story around a resentment, a pressure about cooking.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even have to say a word. Like me just raising an eyebrow could set you off.
Yep.
Right? Not liking the food and everyone going, this is disgusting. And you're going, I put the work in, pretty much fucking eat it. Right? Like,
yep.
So yeah, we move into this house and your identity about yourself, just so while you're moving in this house that you felt so comfortable in, all of a sudden,
I enjoyed cooking.
You enjoyed cooking because you killed that identity.
Well, and even yesterday. So yesterday, to give some context, we recorded 2 episodes because we had a couple weeks off. And so we recorded 2 episodes. First episode was okay. Second episode, I was paralyzed.
You're talking about, okay, both were great.
Both. You were great on both. I did okay on the first one, but it started triggering some things. And the second one, I truly believe I had like a trauma experience and I just shut down. I was like, nope. I was thinking in my head, why can't you speak right now? Like, what is going on?
I was watching
you can't actually speak.
Yeah.
And right afterwards, I drove out and I posted on my social media. I was like, fuck that. Like, I can use my voice and I can do this. And I recognized that it was like probably a trauma experience. There was something in there that triggered me in some way and shut me down. And so even this morning I was in the shower and I was like, no, like it's okay to let that go and move into today and actually communicate and like share your message and speak and do those things. And I feel like I'm doing better today.
You're doing great. You know, the whole biblical way of being rebirthed every morning and dying every night. You could do that inside of a moment.
Totally.
Right? And so, but what we forget, it's the box. The box is a bitch. The box of which we put ourselves in, our identities, our stories, our principles, our values, until they get completely challenged and completely broken. And the box is going to get broken one way or another. Like it's happening.
Yeah.
Either you choose it, right? My coach always says either by default or by design.
Yeah.
Right? It's either coming or you could choose one way or another. You're going to have to break this box.
Yeah.
And I love your response always, like there is no box.
Yeah.
But there is, like, because
there definitely is. But if I keep saying there is no box, at least it gives me the opportunity to be like, what's possible?
Well, you know, it's become the comment, change your story, change your life has become so ubiquitous.
Yep.
Right? It's been used so often and that people just forget what it actually means. And so if you start playing this game at a higher level and going, wow, maybe the marriage is 10 years.
Yep.
Like it just changes everything to be able to look at it from a different frame. So.
Yep. All right. So let's finish on this one, because I think this is an interesting one too.
Go for it.
It says, this is by one Anna Elizabeth Grace.
Shout out to one Anna Elizabeth Grace.
I love that. I love that handle. It says, while I acknowledge that we both have the option to walk away, I am more interested in, are we both committed to staying and creating an ecosystem that is so rich and honoring of self and other that neither one of us want to walk away? I think entertaining the option that you can just walk away gives a lot of people an easy excuse to just change their mind and not really do the work to make the ecosystem beneficial for both. I'm not sure that everyone has the maturity to navigate the freedom to walk away and not confuse it with an ability to not to take radical responsibility in staying when it's hard and choosing to create a healthy relational ecosystem. That being said, I've never agreed with turning a relationship into a prison where no one can leave. I think that is equally unhealthy.
So, a couple things. Number one, Mark Grove's following is next level. Mm-hmm. There are some really, really deep, spiritual, emotionally intelligent people to be able to write something like that.
Yep.
Well done. And then the other thing, she's right. Like, it's one thing to do things because you're called to do it. It's a whole nother one to be like, it's a cop out.
Yep.
You know, I remember coaching a guy. We were coaching in real estate business, and, you know, we were talking about relationships, and he was like, my wife. And I called him out right there in the moment. I was like, what was she saying in this moment? How are you showing up? She's not in here to defend ourselves. Yeah. Let's talk about you. Hoping. Now, it was not a coaching, it was more of a speaking thing with a very little hot seat. So I wasn't able to go as deep as I'd like to. Mm-hmm. And so the whole point was for him to be like, I need to do some personal inventory, be aware of how I'm showing up, which then would translate to his business, right? Personal inventory. It isn't my clients, it's me. Isn't my wife, it's me. Let me show up, see how it done, see how she responds to me, see how the clients respond to me. That's the work that I would have liked to seen him do.
Yeah.
Next time I saw him, he's like, yep, I'm getting divorced. Mm-hmm. I was like, shit, that wasn't the point. Now, again, this isn't my relationship and how people take it. But to use that as an excuse, a breakthrough in awareness to run and not deal with it, I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah, 100%. And honoring the relationship and being able to make it this fiery, passionate thing. Like, what are you doing to create that environment? What are you doing to make it that create that passion, create that fire, create that love and that lust that was lost, you know? Like, there has to be, Tony Robbins talks about it too. And when he's working with couples, he's like, if you give it 100% and that other person still doesn't show up, at least you can say, hey, I gave it my all and I didn't leave anything on the table.
Well, and you know who you could say it to? Yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're building this container of, this foundation of consistency that you're bringing to everywhere in your life, first of all, people are going to meet you at it or not.
Yep.
Most of the time, they're going to meet you there.
Yeah.
Right? And if they don't,
then it's something to be grateful for.
And the container's already built.
Yeah.
So then the attraction's going to happen, right? So that's like not being needy to this one client, holding your own space, the client not meeting where you're at, and then going to attract the clients and the customer base that you want. Same thing in relationships. All right, well, I really want this woman more than anything in my life. I want this man. I'm going to keep showing up. And all right, well, I did everything I could.
Yep.
So they're not going to meet me there, gaslighting, whatever bullshit you want to call it. And then hold space. You know, when people get divorced, I'm not going to say who. I remember telling somebody like, listen, you screwed up. Your kids are going to judge you. Take a year and prove to everyone, especially yourself more than anybody, that you can rise and thrive on your own 2 feet and become the best mother anyone's ever seen and show the world that this divorce and how you got to this divorce was exactly what was needed. Because this is your coming out party.
Yeah.
That's owning your shit.
Yeah, totally.
And so, she's now very, very articulate. But like, you also got to be careful not to get too much into the pocket. Yep. And try to thought process your way out of it. Because sometimes talking about it too much, I mean, I'm the king of this.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just elegantly and, you know, like poetically talk about it so much that you're not fucking doing it.
No, 100%. And that's what I love about this episode. So if you haven't watched the episode, what is it? Episode 4?
It is episode 4, yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that Mark talks about is how when him and Kai were originally together, he felt like he was giving it everything and she wasn't fully committed. And that was what kind of got them to burn that part of their relationship down to the ground. And it allowed them to rebuild on an even playing field. And it was like this beautiful story about, you know, the death and the rebirth of their relationship.
And listen, at the end of the day, people ask why we do this podcast. And I'm like, listen, there's some transactional things, right? You know, you want to build a podcast, you want to share everything with your world. But the reality is there's 2 things for me. 2 things that are more important than anything. One is our children will be able to watch this and see how mommy and daddy talk openly about everything. Maybe it's a blueprint, maybe it's not. But it's a perspective for them in their own lives. That's number 1. So it's like a legacy play.
Yep.
Done. And then number 2, as important, maybe one thing challenges or makes people stretch their ideas to talk about something that gets them further along, to get some a more enriching relationship, a more connected relationship, a deeper relationship. They break the box in their life.
Or out of a toxic relationship.
Yeah, I don't want to measure I'm not here to measure in subscribers, likes, views. I want to measure in impact on lives. Yeah, and having that many people interact and talk openly and vulnerably and deeply about these things, man, it just filled my soul.